All right, chiaroscuro is the term for really what it is that we are doing. Um, chiaroscuro is Italian. Its Italian term means dark and light. I'm pretty sure scuro is dark, cura is light. Might mess that up. I get a little dyslexic, especially when I'm trying to speak Italian. Um, what it means is you have tons of dark and you have light sources coming in, bouncing off of this, making this look dramatic and interesting. The guy who's credited for creating this effect is a guy by the name of Caravaggio. He lived to be 39 years old. I thought that actually was way longer than I thought. He died like in his late 20s. Uh, I have a video I am going to post on him in your canvas later that goes through his entire technique. I think it's fascinating. If you guys, you know, aren't planning on going into any deep oil painting later in your life, you probably don't need to watch it. But it is really like his method is not anybody else's method I have ever seen. So, like he does things like he would paint the canvas all dark, which I have seen, but then he would take a needle and draw out where the bodies would be, like in simple form, and then he would just kind of have at it blending colors over that dark hue that he would put on the canvas and let the canvas bleed through to see that kind of color. So yeah, it's really interesting to watch. It's a little on the slow side. I think it's maybe 17 minutes. But you see somebody go through all the steps that he would go through when he would paint his paintings. And like you see, a lot of these people here straight into blackness. Before this time, black was not really ever used in a painting. Uh, Painters frowned upon it. If they wanted to make something darker, they go across the color wheel. So if you wanted to make red darker, you add a little bit of green. If you wanted to make orange darker, you add a little bit of blue. Same thing with yellow and purple. So that's how they would normally create colors. You don't see as much black in the Hildebrandt stuff that we looked at last week as you do in most chiaroscuro type paintings. All right, and it relies heavily on obscuring details. So when I'm watching this video and they're saying that Caravaggio would paint very quickly, yeah, because a lot of his paintings were black. So like he didn't have to worry about knocking out an entire face on this part. He had to do a partial, profile. This whole ear area is left out. Most of this guy's head fades into darkness. This guy's face, he's painting a nose and a pair of lips. So there is an upside to doing this type of painting is you'll get done quicker because everything will be in darkness. Here are others throughout the ages. If there was no Caravaggio, we don't know what anything would look like. Like we don't know how far-reaching that effect is that he has had, but we got a pretty good guess because that kind of drama came out in all these paintings. So once again, take a look at this. How much of this are you really seeing? You got a full body here. A lot of this cheekbone is in shadow. The edge of this nose is in shadow. You're seeing, I don't know, 25% of this person. You only got a shadow, almost a silhouette of an arm. This guy's all obscured. He didn't have to be painted with super detail. Um, so this is kind of the interesting thing about chiaroscuro is it will save you some time. All right, so we're moving up from Caravaggio from the 1571 to 1625. George de la Tour did not live that long either, 25 years it looks like. Um, Mostly shadow. Light source doubled up with a mirror and a candle. Her skin porcelain like. Like that's not a real skin tone, at least not without a bunch of powder. Back in the day, in the 90s, well, late 80s, uh, the zombie zoo era of club kids. When Medusa's was still in downtown Chicago, you would see a lot of this where people would powder their skin tone to look ghostly and death-like. This painting has that to just straight out begin with. All right. And the only real pure white, my bad, the only pure real white you see here, this may not even be pure white, is here on this arm. Everything else becomes slightly darker and then super dark. Rembrandt would take on this same approach when he would paint. He is probably the most cataloged portrait artist. I mean, he did more portraits of himself than I think just about anybody, even Van Gogh. So we get a very long line, or a good idea of what Rembrandt looked at like throughout the course of his life. That could be Casper the Friendly Ghost's mom. We don't know. We get it to 1734. We're seeing more of this with Joseph Wright of Derby, or Derby, I think is how it's pronounced in England. Super complex composition here. I like it. I like this one a lot. It feels like they took a bunch of people out of time and popped them at a science museum, like an updated one. Because I get, while this is an astronomy tool that plots stars and stuff, it really does look like it's something out of the kids' part of the science museum. Full body here, just straight up silhouette. So if you're feeling a little hesitant about this assignment, I think it's going to go, if you stay with your darks and you really keep in mind where your lights are going to be, you will have a pretty good grasp of this. Another guy that we don't speak enough about because we don't always have a place to talk about his art is John Singer Sargent. There's a lot of dark in the back here, but really what we see are these kind of cool glowing colors. And if you remember the classroom, this painting there's a poster of this painting in it, just because I love the color mix in this. I like the glowing lanterns and the oranges and the yellows. And luckily I was able to see this when I was in New York. They had a John Singer Sargent retrospect, which is in the top 5 of the coolest art shows I've ever seen. And we had no idea he was having a retrospect there because, well, we just went to New York when we went to New York. But guy's an amazing American painter. He was around the same time as the Impressionists, so he was like this American doing his own thing during this big art movement. And he made a lot of money because he would do huge portraits of people, like full body portraits. So this is not typical of what he would normally do. And he painted big. I mean, I think this thing is maybe 5 foot by 5 foot. It's not a tiny painting. All right, for those of you who head toward cartoons, here's how you do that with cartoons. So I believe this is from Gravity Falls. I'm not really as familiar with Gravity Falls as I should be. A lot of people say good stuff about it. But if you'd rather do some sort of cartoony thing with this dramatic lighting, you're more than free to do that. This is a wonderful example of light source causing this intense glowing on this character. Right, and the shadows off to the side. And lastly for this, another one where the dark has been replaced with blues. And they must be sitting outside of some sort of fast food restaurant with big neon glowing light is all I can figure. But that one's kind of just creepy. All right, I'm going to stop my share there. So that's it. I'm going to stop chatting. You guys are more than welcome to start working on and show me anything that you got. Your pre-sketches should have been in last Thursday. I think it was Thursday. So if anybody would like to show me one or email me one, please do so. I'm going to give you guys till Friday of this week to finish this up, and then next Monday we'll start on something new. All right, that's it. Get busy.